What we're going to do here is I'm going to do a sort of a synopsis of Before Watchmen so far. Before Watchmen, of course, for you that don't know, is a series of books that are prequels. I think there was like 7 or 8 miniseries. They were going to total about 35 books, and since they have started Before Watchmen about 3 months ago, they've now announced that they're going to tag on a 2-part miniseries of Moloch, one of the villains from the Watchmen. Okay, first of all, just a little backstory here and stuff like this. This was highly controversial when it came out. A lot of people were angry. Some people were open. Some didn't care, and because basically the Watchmen story is a complete story. They even offered Alan Moore to give him the rights back about 2-3 years ago to the Watchmen if he would agree to do some prequels or sequels or something. And he said it wasn't about the money. He just doesn't want this to happen. Dave Gibbons came in and sort of gave what I interpreted as a sort of a little way to go, guys, do your best, not really heartfelt. And he's even gone on to say that he doesn't consider it this prequel event to be canon to destroy the Watchmen. And basically, I feel the same way. But I'm in for the long haul, and we are about 1/3 of the way through this event, through these books. They've had about 13 issues come out as of this date. Today is September 3rd, 2012, and we'll see where we're at so far. What I want to be careful here of what I'm doing here is that I don't want to read into things that are not there with all these books, okay? There are 13 issues so far have come out, and I've read them and I've absorbed them. I've been mildly impressed. I've been let down. I've gone back and read a few things to give it another chance, and overall, I think these are some of the very best books being put out there today. You have people like Darwin Cook, who's always solid, Amanda Connor, who has just blown me away, Brian Azzarello, who has really confused me, J. Michael Straczynski, who I'm polarized over because he's doing 2 books. Real glad to see Len Wein come back in. He was attached to he was the editor of the original Watchmen book, so who better to come in? And these books definitely get a reaction out of you, and some of the Jay Lee's art is just blowing everybody away. It's good to see Adam Hughes putting out something, so the talent and all the work they're doing, it's just amazing, I've actually been in the comic book shops and been around the last couple months since this started, and I've seen kids dropping Avengers vs. X-Men to start wanting to get on Before Watchmen. I've had comments left on my Facebook. I've had messages sent there, and I think I've had a comment or two in a personal message on YouTube asking about Before Watchmen. So that's one of the reasons I decided to try to do this. Again, this is like an experiment. Even with the last couple videos I've done, what didn't involve a comic book haul, I don't know if it's noticeable or not, but this is sort of like different type of video for me, where I'm just not reaching down with what's been going around in my head for years and stuff, and just spitting it out and going on a bit of a new path. So we have 13 books of Before Watchmen that's come out so far, and first of all, like I said, I don't want to read into things that aren't there. Maybe these guys aren't connecting these books in a way that I'm satisfied with, but I'm beginning to pick up on coincidences and maybe some ties to other books and everything. So first of all, each book is a period piece, okay? Minutemen, more or less, it starts out, it's actually a very smart way to acknowledge something, the way they started it out. Hollis Manson is writing his book Under the Hood. Now, before I go on any further than that, I'm going to assume that you have read Watchmen or have been reading Before Watchmen, or a lot of this is not going to make sense. That's just too big of a task to go through every one of these books and lay it all out for you. But basically, we start out in the early 60s. Hollis Mason is finishing up his book, and then we're having flashbacks to the late 30s, early in the 40s, time of the Minutemen. And the first thing they acknowledge is that we read this narrative that Hollis Mason is doing with these existential 2 pages of artwork, and then all of a sudden you see Hollis Mason more or less rip the paper out and goes, well, I can't write like that. I'm just terrible, so we're just going to have to write from the gut. So right away, they're letting you know that we are not Alan Moore, and we are not going to be able to write like Alan Moore, but we're still going to put our blood, sweat, and tears into this. Okay? Very smart. And you have to, and it's real subtle. Okay? And basically it was just a lot of introduction with things we didn't know, kind of a slow start. Then Silk Spectre came out. This is a coming-of-age book. This book is a period piece set in the 60s. And, it's a coming-of-age of Laurie. And Amanda Connor, her details in here, there's just no doubt in my mind that she is calling Darwin Cook up, and she's explaining, kind of what a girl goes through. This book seems familiar, but the reason it's familiar, I think I said this in another one of our reviews, is because, we've all seen the story happen. As men, we get older and, we hear stories, we see how, girlfriends, wives, whatever, along with their mom and stuff like that. So that's why this seems familiar. It's not that it's retreading old material or it's not an original story. It's that it's written, it's just written so, it's like we're peering into the female world as males. We're seeing that side of it. And of course, this has a few nods to Watchmen. Some of the panel layouts, actual panels where Laurie, there's an attacker in her house, and it's got her by a collar, and that goes back to the killer and Watchmen holding up the comedian. We get the globe, Laurie's globe. At the end of it, she takes off with her boyfriend. They end up hitchhiking to San Francisco, and the van that pulls up has a castle on it, much like the globe. It's her new adventure. It's the new world she's entering. Okay, and then the one, Brian Azzarello. I can't really give an opinion on this book because I want to know where this is going. There have been no payoffs with this so far, at all. Okay? And we'll go back here. So basically what's happened is this is a period piece, okay? This is taking place in the late 60s, the dawn of Vietnam. And that's kind of what I've always heard, that's always been planned about the prequels that they've tried to do over the years, what they got going. It's always about the comedian in Vietnam and stuff. But it starts out, the comedian, we all know him as the the psycho, life's a joke, gritty, the real character thrust into the superhero sci-fi world, and he's the dose of reality that's there and everything like that. And the first thing you find out, he's running around with the Kennedy family, playing ball out in the front yard with them. He's part of Camelot. To me, he's kind of like their jester, and he kills Marilyn Monroe as a favor to Jackie O. But it's like he's calm and he has his family and he's rational. And then he goes after Moloch. The government sends him after Moloch because he has a bunch of drugs. And while he's there with Moloch, JFK gets shot in Dallas. So did they take him out? Did they get him out of the way? Kind of cool. It was kind of a good start, where we were going. I didn't go anywhere, All right, Night Owl. Now, Straczynski, J. Michael Straczynski is writing Night Owl and he's writing Dr. Manhattan. This is crap. And what is so sad about this is that he broke the cardinal rule of the Watchmen. Okay, the Watchmen is not superheroes. It is a sci-fi story set in the real world. Okay, and he wrote this like it was Batman. It was his excuse to have it was like the retelling of Jason Todd becoming Robin to a certain extent. And Night Owl had a Nightmobile that he was driving around, Owlmobile or something. It's just awful. This was crap. But the artwork is beautiful in it, man. If you could just read it without reading, the artwork is just. And we've lost Joe Kubert, and I heard that Brian says, here we go, Straczynski, I cannot say his name to save my life, is coming on. Okay, he's going to be finishing up the inks and stuff. Is what I've been told. And this is also set in the '60s. So that's it's another period piece. Of course, they're prequels and stuff. And Rorschach shows up, and it's just completely out of character again. And okay, so we continue with the Minutemen and the Silk Spectre, and they start throwing in more and more bits to let you know that they're trying to go back to the Gibbons art and stuff to let you know what's going on. Front cover, if you pay attention, and I didn't catch it until about 2-3 weeks after I had it. That's the Doomsday Clock. It's 10 minutes to midnight. His arm and his head are in the circle behind him make up the clock. We have the snow globe in there from the Watchmen series. We actually have a panel here that's in Hollis Manson's book, this picture of everybody. You know, you can find those pictures in the book. You know, we kind of got like the reverse smiley face of the comedian, real disturbing. The mist, that's a symbol in all the books. You know, more of the, you know, just a brutal little comedian going at it with a baseball bat there. You know, they still use the blood, and that's in the shape of the country of Vietnam, let you know where they're at. You know, and as you go through, you can find more and more things like that. So, you know, that's all there. Was it there on purpose? I don't know. Continuing on here, you know, we're going to get these out of order now, so we can't get on. We got another introduction here. You know, Ozymandias takes place in the 30s up into the, I think, the 50s. I think his book is primarily in the 50s. And it answers quite a few things. To me, this has a chance of being the most pure character out of the before Watchmen books, because Len Wein was there. He was the editor. There's no doubt in my mind he didn't discuss and talk about these characters with Alan Moore. So Len Wein has like a window, and he probably pumped in a few little things here and there with Alan Moore and stuff. You know, I'm not wanting to, you know, pump up his contribution to the original Watchmen. But if there's anybody that, you know, he was there. So this has been excellent. Beautiful art by Jay Lee, and it touches on quite a few things. And I'll touch about the themes. Rorschach comes in. Artwork is beautiful. It's grim and gritty. It's a period piece set in the 70s. I think it's supposed to be right before Rorschach goes all dark, where he goes from Walter Kovac's playing Rorschach to actually being Rorschach. And he's got a sense of humor. He's getting his butt handed to him. It's just not what, you know, he gets jumped by some thugs in the sewer, and they say, I guess, what we're thinking. You know, that's a lot. A lot of these characters speak for us. They're acknowledging things, and they're sitting there and they're holding them and they're beating them up. It's like, oh, you're the big bad Rorschach. Well, you're not what I expected, and they're right. You know, maybe that's saying something. Again, it's Brian Azzarello. I feel like there's going to be a payoff in this. You know, it's just so weird. He's just throwing the comedian and the Rorschach out there as not the characters we know from the Watchmen, and it makes no sense. But I have kind of a theory. You know. Okay, Ozymandias again, number 2. What I want to point about this book is that maybe this is supposed to like symbolize a theme or something, but this scene does not take place in the book. It's the only cover that has nothing to do with the story. Dr. Manhattan. This is where I've been polarized by J. Michael Straczynski. He broke the cardinal rule, like I said, with Night Owl, just making it a flat-out superhero story. Well, he returns hard and heavy with the sci-fi in this. And there's the pick. You know, you can take chapter 4 of The Watchmen, which is you know, Dr. Manhattan retelling his origin to us and stuff, and it fits right in there. And then he has a big twist. This story is like I said, it's taking place back and forth, 30 to the 60s. You know, from, you know, him going up, but he actually travels his timeline. Dr. Manhattan sees everything at once. You know, that's how he lives. You know, all time is happening at once to him, and so he decides to try to go back before his creation, and it ends with the accident never happening. You know, did he going back and just observing change time to where there is no Dr. Manhattan? At least there's a hook there to make you want to come back to see what's going to happen here. And then we have Minutemen, what's going on here, number 3. This book is building and building, and I think this is going to be a classic read out of all of them there, with the way he's doing it. Now, real quickly, some of the themes here that's going on through before Watchmen. I mean, let's get it out of the way, man. There's a lot of sexual themes going on there. Sexual taste, sexual fetishes, everything going on like that. Night Owl runs across the Twilight Lady. When we see her for the first time, she is naked and he is stunned. And then we have Rorschach. When he lays eyes on her, he just sees, you know, he yells slut and goes after her like he's going to kill her. Okay, we have Ozymandias, who in the original Watchmen, Rorschach suspected that he was gay and wanted to investigate further, which even brought in questions about Rorschach's, always with the hat, man. And Rorschach always, you know, it even brought in question Rorschach's sexuality. You know, is he gay also? Is he just repressed about it and stuff? And then we find out Ozymandias, who, you know, Rorschach just cut himself off from humanity. He decided not to be human anymore. He just sits around, no relationships, no women. His mother was a prostitute. Said she, you know, looked at him, smacked him around, said I should have got that abortion and stuff. You know, very abused. And then he's all black and white with everything. And then we have Ozymandias here, who is also the exact opposite. You know, in the Watchmen, he was filthy rich, and he had the most colorful costume of all of them. You know, it was a Halloween costume he had made up. So we had, you know, the purple and the gold, and then you had Rorschach, who's black and white, dressed like what he thought a gentleman would look like. And Ozymandias apparently has the most open sexual tones there going on, because like he was with a boy and a girl in the book. Complete opposite of Rorschach. So I don't know if they're playing off these characters on purpose like that, or if that was just a little accident. The bondage stuff, we have it's getting explored with Captain Metropolis and the Hooded Justice, and it goes all the way up to, oh my gosh, where else was it? It's in another book that they touch on a little bit that was kind of disturbing and stuff. You know, it's probably in Rorschach or something like that, you know, with New Yorkers and stuff. So they're definitely throwing in little overtones. And then you got Lori, who she goes out, and her book got kind of campy. I'm not meaning to jump all over the place here, but you got the Silk Spectre, and she's run off with her high school boyfriend. They run away and went to San Francisco, like a lot of people did in the 60s. And she ends up crime fighting while she's out there. She's been training her whole life on it. As a waitress, she picks on hearing things that are going on, and she goes out there and she's up all night, and it gets kind of campy. Now, I'm all right with the campiness because they've got so much substance in this book. They're just kind of reflecting, like, you know, the campiness of the 60s in there. You know, it's all right. I think just because it's the Silk Spectre, you can get by with that a little bit. I mean, it's got to be a little. I'm jumping ahead. So anyway, she goes out all night and she fights this gang, and she's fighting and everything. She's getting all pumped up, and I started thinking about when she and Hollis Manson got mugged after she left Dr. Manhattan. How the adrenaline was going, and she was shaking, and they were huffing and puffing. It was like foreplay. Well, after being out all night, you know, beating up these, you know, guys and stuff, she jumps in there and strips down naked, and she jumps her boyfriend, you know. So it's an aphrodisiac to her, you know, get that adrenaline going, and you know, just all the excitement and stuff, and then she just wants to put an exclamation point at the top of it. Okay, so I can go on and on like that. And also, well, the last thing is that Dr. Manhattan, the last thing that kept him gave him a line to humanity was sex. The enjoyment of sex. But as he drifted off further and further into becoming Dr. Manhattan and detaching himself from us, just by being Dr. Manhattan, you know, he even pulled a stunt with Lori where he kind of made quantum clones of himself there, and tried to give her like a threesome or even a foursome and stuff. And he just flat out says, I don't know what stimulates you anymore. Okay? So we got that out of the way. That's what's going on. Okay? Oh, don't go blank now. There's other things that I started popping up and seeing in all this. Is Moloch, you know. Moloch, I kind of predicted they were going to do something. Hopefully they were building actually something up. The momentum of all these books were going to cross over, because Moloch got mentioned in quite a few books. He's had a cameo. And then just like maybe a week or two ago, they announced that they will have a 2-issue miniseries of Moloch. And I don't know if that's going to come out. This was supposed to have ended with a one-shot. After all the miniseries were over, they want to put out a one-shot. Now they're saying there's a 2-part Moloch coming out by J. Michael Straczynski. And I've always felt like there was, you know, hopefully there's like some kind of momentum. Moloch was getting dropped a whole lot. You know, they're exploring this Watchmen universe, but they haven't brought in Spaceman and Captain Nazi. Was it Captain Nazi? Watch me go blank now. But, you know, they named a whole bunch, you know, Captain Carnage and stuff. They were naming all these villains and these stories, and, you know, they haven't really shown them, you know, but Moloch keeps popping up. And not only does Moloch pop up, but it's like contradictory stuff. In the 50s, he was in narcotics and prostitution. In the 60s, when Comedian went after him, he was clean. There was no narcotics. And then we all know about him having a job, doing his time in the late 70s, early 80s, you know, straightening up his life after being in jail and everything. So, you know, I'll be really interested to see what this 2-part Moloch story is. Because I think I said in a podcast 2-3 weeks ago, I was like, I predicted they were going to do something with Moloch. Just what caused waves popping up. Also, the other things in here is the violence and everything like that. I talked about the comedian being out of character and hanging out in Camelot with the Kennedys and stuff. And I was real confused. And that's why I can't really give my opinion on it. But in Minutemen number 3, you see the Minutemen all gathering together to sit there and try to have a vote on, is the comedian in or is he out, because he tried to rape the Silk Spectre. And the first thing he does is that he sits there and he begs and begs, don't do it, don't do it, give me another chance, and all this stuff. And then they kick him out and he pulls a gun on him and he's dropping the F-bombs on him. Again, probably how somebody would handle something like that in the real world. You skip ahead 20 years and he's all happy and normal acting. It's like he's got a family with the Kennedys. So what they've done is that if you absorb the series like that, all the books like that, and this is where I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but other stories and other events are kind of fleshing out the other ones. But it's not as intricate or well done or executed as good as in the Watchmen. And then again, maybe I'm seeing things and reading into it. You know, we're a third of the way through the series. So I'm going to leave it at that. You know, maybe what they're trying to do is say that the comedian doesn't know what love is. Maybe what he was doing to the Silk Spectre, he didn't realize was really wrong. And he got with the Kennedys and got a chance. The government took him in and didn't want to change him or anything. They got exactly what they liked it. And he ended up serving in World War II with John F. Kennedy. And hung out with his brothers and stuff, and that's kind of what brought him down a little bit. He actually had some kind of family. So I think there's an overtone of the Minutemen, you know, kind of exploring all the characters. And the only thing in Minutemen that Darwin Cook did that I kind of roll my eyes at a little bit is that he maybe he's trying to make us feel more emotion for the Silhouette, you know, the lesbian of the group. While they're sitting there putting down, everybody's having these mixed emotions about the Captain Metropolis and the Hooded Justice for being a gay couple. Then you have the Silhouette who's going out and she's taking down kitty porn rings and stuff, making her the most virtuous of it, and we all know that she ends up dead with her lover. Meanwhile, Hollis Manson is falling in love with her, you know, slowly. So you know, that we're a third of the way in, and if you sit here and listen to all this and stuff like that, I got to say it's not a flop. Maybe one or two books have disappointed me, but this is far from over. And they've done enough to where I think these books they have substance. I think they're well done. I don't think this was just hashed together. And the talent on it is phenomenal. I actually wish that the normal DC books could have a quality and a continuity like these books and the talent on them. I wish the Marvel books could get it together, you know, and, you know, Avengers versus X-Men, I know a lot of people are liking it right now and stuff, but I have seen people dropping to start on these Before Watchmen books. It's because Before Watchmen's better written, I don't know, but I think people are just getting hungry for some quality in a comic book universe again that kind of pays off and intertwines a little bit, have a continuity again. So basically I don't feel like I've wasted my money. I feel like one or two books may just be a matter of taste, and one or two books I just have no idea where they're going yet, and I'm willing to stick in there and hopefully there is a payoff. And okay, thanks for sticking around in my experiment here. Hopefully I won't sit here and have 5 or 6 other things I wished I'd have brought up. But check them out. Check them out. I think there's just enough in these Before Watchmen books. You know, at least one book will satisfy somebody's need for something. You know, we all got different tastes, and I think Before Watchmen has everything covered. Okay.